Hey there, this sounds a little weird because we were doing this over the internet with audio because I am away on vacation. But just because I'm gone doesn't mean you shouldn't receive some awesome Kickstarter Pickstarters for the week of March 11th, 2019.
Paladins of the West Kingdom is our first pick and probably the biggest Kickstarter game, I think, for this week. Following up, of course, from Architects of the West Kingdom from Garphill Games. This is a worker placement game in which you are trying to protect your city, your land, by hiring paladins who are going to bring you more people of their own to let you build walls and fight off enemies. And ultimately, you're trying to get the most victory points. What makes this one feel a little bit different, a little bit more special from a lot of other worker placement games. First of all, every player has their own personal board, and those boards have their own personal actions where they can place workers. Your workers have different colors, and some spots require different colors of workers. Some spots require different numbers of workers. Then there are purple workers, which you can use anywhere, but they will result in you getting suspicion, which could lead to bad things on your turn. And in the center, there are eventually also going to be common actions, so everyone can choose to take those, and those are going to be first come, first serve. There's things like wall cards that you're buying, and you're putting those in front of your board and getting points from those as well. And the different paladins that you hire have their own special abilities, their own attributes, and a lot of different ways that you can ultimately earn points to try to come out ahead in the end. Neither of us have played Architects of the West Kingdom, but this is definitely, I think, one of the most anticipated releases of 2019. It's a big game. It looks very interesting, the layout of all the workers, and the fact that you have your own board, so you don't necessarily need to worry about whether or not other people will take those spaces, I think is an interesting twist on the genre.
Yeah, I think Architects has been on like Board Game Geek's hot list for quite some time. And what's actually very nice is some of the pledge levels, not only can you get Paladins if you want, but you can throw on Architects with promos that I assume came with Kickstarter and the 2018 promos. So you can pretty much catch up like if you missed out like we did, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't want to, it's also a standalone game, we should say, so you don't need to worry about that. It's not an expansion. It's totally on its own. But yeah, it is always nice to be able to get those add-ons. The base of Paladins goes for about $53. It's coming over from New Zealand, so you'll have to figure out how shipping works and all that nonsense.
Can we just get the Eagles to fly it?
Yeah, I think we can get the Eagles to fly it on their way back from Mount Doom. So that's Paladins of the West Kingdom.
Our next game is Ghoststar, Remanent Souls, and it's just for you. And by just for you, I mean that is a single-player game. This is a game when you are alone in space on this strange space station. You'll actually be exploring through these deck of cards, which you'll have like a location card out, which you could have doors open to either up, north, south, west. And you will actually flip from that deck if that's the doorway you want to go through. And of course, there's other weird effects that, of course, you can raise your paranoia, which may cause these horrors to appear if you go too high, which will attack you and affect your stats. And what's cool is you have sort of two different lines of stats. One's more like the actual weapons, when some things like critical thinking, empathy, informed decisions, which can help you get different other resources. But the other side, where it's across like judgment, conscious, tribalism, this is actually more your defenses. And if those go down, they could drastically affect what skills you can use on the other side. And of course, a single player game, I think, is still, I think we haven't been flooded by the solo market area yet. And this idea with the whole little, like almost mini map where you have the 4 different decks with directions, I really liked. Combined with the whole stat management and trying to unlock cards that are double-sided. I think if you're into single-player games, this looks like probably one you're going to really want to take a look at, because this feels like it's that fun sort of space horror, Dead Space kind of style that would sound very excited. I know, Jonathan, you and I both have really enjoyed the solo games we have bought so far. So
yeah, I'm a big proponent of games that are exclusively designed as solo games, because I think that allows for them to really be tailored to that. It's not just an afterthought like it is with a lot of other games.
Exactly.
And the theme is very cool of this one.
Yeah, it's not just we just tagged it on or you're playing a bot. This one's designed, and I like combine that with the theme, which is it's the kind of theme you always want to see. Like I've enjoyed in video games too, so it's like it already has the theme you want in the solo player game. Ironically, probably the kind of thing where you're so scared. I think they use it as their tagline, which I did like. You don't want to play alone. I was like, well, yeah. When I was playing Dead Space, there are moments where I'm like, nope.
I did look at this one, and I will say I got a little intimidated by the setup, which includes you choosing your own stats from a total of 45 points you can allocate however you'd like.
Yeah,
I was like, that seems intense.
No, that's the other thing. This isn't the simple, like, I feel like there's also a lot of solo games that are very simple. Just like, oh, it's a deck of cards, have fun with it or something. This is like, no, you're going in.
You're in for the long haul.
Yeah. So this will go for about, I think it's $29 US. Once again, this is one of the ones where you have to look at the price because it, depending on where you are, may change. But you can go for higher pledge levels. I think also add-ons like a playmat and stuff like that. So let's see if you are brave enough to back this Kickstarter.
Copenhagen is the next Kickstarter pick from Queen Games. Players playing this game are building beautiful new homes on the coast of Copenhagen. And the way it works is everybody has their own board onto which you're going to be placing Tetris-like pieces of different shapes, although it wouldn't be Tetris to actually have 5 parts to them, not 4. I know, it's a whole new world. You're going to be playing cards from your hand of different colors, and say you want to place a piece that is 3 squares large. You're going to need to play 3 cards of one matching color to take one of those pieces. But everyone is choosing from the same pool. So it doesn't really matter what colors you take. What matters is if you want a piece that is 3 squares long and people have already taken all the 3 squares of the color green, then you need to switch up and take a different color. You're going to get points for filling up rows and columns, and also some of the tiles have windows on them, and you get more points if you have windows in a row or column, or if you have only windows in a row or column. That's worth more points. First player to 12 points wins. So it's not one of those games where you're going to go past the board to like 100 plus points or what have you, which I think is kind of nice as well. It just looked like the kind of game that had, it's sort of like a patchwork style thing where there's not too much heavy player interaction. It's more just worrying about getting the pieces that you need when you need them and building this kind of pretty little facade of a home on your board, which I liked.
Yeah, I think after we reviewed the previous, yes, I think you like lower scoring numbers now.
It just seems nice to be like first person to 12. That's such a quaint number. Copenhagen, it goes for $40 on Kickstarter now.
Next up, I'm going to keep my spooky trend going with Spirits of Carter Mansion. This is a more micro game where it's sort of a social deduction with like 2 teams, but you may be switching teams throughout the game. The idea is you're all spirits in this house. So some of you may be good spirits, some bad. Each room will have a symbol, whether it's good or bad, and you'll choose one and keep that in front of you, and that hidden in front of you, and that's sort of you're choosing your team. At the start of the game, you start in the foyer, I believe it was, and then after that, each person is going to put a card face down, and one person's sort of I forget the exact name, like spirit guide. Similar to the game Exodus, actually, you're each going to sort of secretly put a card face down and say, like, this is a good room or not, and try to get your room picked. And once your room is picked, all the other ones are shoveled back into the draw deck and can be drawn. And that will have new effects and could maybe also hint on your team or not. Some of them, for example, actually let people look at your hand and see what you're holding. Some things let you look at maybe change someone else's team or your own team. So you can sort of mess around that way. But the game ends when one of the 2 rooms, it's the basement and the attic, I believe, are played, because they have things if the room is played without the soccer ball, which pretty much is the item that will decide which side wins. I think the basement was if the soccer ball wasn't played and this gets played, the evil side wins, and the other one is if the soccer ball is played with this in play, the good wins. So it's pretty much back and forth of trying to find the soccer ball, keeping it in play or not if you're the good or bad team. before the end game goal rooms come out. So small, simple thing, but I love the idea that there seems to be a bit more shuffling with the teams because hypothetically, everyone could be like, let's all choose good.
Yeah, that sounded really interesting to me too. That it's not, like most of these games, you're just randomly dealt it. This one, you can decide if you want to be evil or not. That's cool.
And you could say that, and then all of a sudden go evil, and then just ruin everyone's day by hiding the soccer ball.
Yeah.
So it is a bit more pricey, but it's free shipping. So this is coming from Australia, so it's $18, but free shipping. And for a small micro game, I know, Jonathan, you in particular, you're very high proponents of hidden roles, especially if there's a traitor.
Sure.
And the fact that pretty much this can be a game with or without traitors up to the players, not randomness. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a fun little silly twist with especially for something so small, a micro game, which is like I think a social deduction game is perfect for the micro section. That's the kind of thing you'd want to play around a dinner table. So I think this is worth calling upon the spirits on.
My next pick is an RPG called Cut to the Chase. This is a role-playing game actually only designed for 2 players, in which each person is simulating a hunt scene. So one person is the hunter and the other player is the prey, and you choose a scenario of however you want it to be. It could be based on something, it could be totally of your own creation, and you take turns. First, the hunter will describe a scene and say what they are doing, and then the prey describes what they are doing, and that's considered a round. And at certain points, the hunter may catch up to the prey, and if they do, a clash occurs, which involves some dice rolling. As well, you also have individual actions each player can take on their turn, different things depending on which role you're in. You'll roll 2 dice, and you get to take the higher result to try to get a better outcome. And if the prey is able to elude the hunter after 4 rounds, they win. And if the hunter is able to catch their prey before that and beat them in a clash, they win. But it's not really designed as a competitive game. That's the characters' goals, but the players are really meant to just be telling this story together and coming up with something fun together. And, this seemed like it's very rare, I think, that you see an RPG designed for 2 players specifically. So I thought this had a cool sounding dynamic to it. And I think there's a lot of interesting places you could take this, especially from, sometimes you like to take existing movies or books or what have you and bring them into role-playing settings. And they even give some examples of that as well, like Frankenstein or Sleepy Hollow. And I was thinking that there's got to be some good ones like what if you did one player is a T-Rex and the other player is a Jeep from Jurassic Park?
I mean, I think the idea of the hunting trope, it's such a basic natural storytelling arc, I think, in human culture. You can go back to something a bit more traditional if you want to do something like Perseus and Medusa, or even Orion and Taurus, or go to, as you said, like more modern day things. I think you can have a lot of fun with that. And also just an RPG for 2 players, it's hard. It's so hard to get enough people around the table. It's nice to maybe have something that just for 2 people.
Yeah, I think it could be really cool. So this one goes for $7. This is another game that is from Canada. So depending on where you are in the world, you'll figure out how it works. But $7 gets you the PDF and a copy from DriveThruRPG, for which you'll just have to pay a little bit extra for the printing and shipping from DriveThruRPG. So take a look at that. It's called Cut to the Chase.
My next one is sort of an accessory, but you could use it with the previous Pickstarter choice. It's called Trailblazer Game Stamps. These are actually stamps designed to help you create your maps in role-playing games. The basic level will include 6 stamps, I believe. Yeah, 6 stamps, and then up to 9, and so on and so forth. They include things like mountain ranges, grass, hills, trees, more like dead-looking trees and water. And the more stamps mean more interesting things like castles, houses, what have you. And to be able to use stamps, it seems like a pretty great idea to quickly be able to make a nice looking map you can actually give people. and in much shorter time and not feel nearly as bad that you can't get that goddamn castle right.
It does look from the pictures, the art, it looks it has a nice clean look to it, almost like a map that you would find in a Lord of the Rings book or one of those kind of fantasy novels. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I remember playing his stamps as a kid. I'm like, maybe it's time to go back. And I think they actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, one of the higher pledge levels, you can actually get in different colors if you really need to make your castle purple. Because I don't know your campaign. That's up to you, man. But like I said, the first pledge is for 6 stamps with just black ink, and that's for $24. And they increase steadily when you add more stamps and ink.
I also just wanted to add one more bonus pick, which is, I don't know if you saw this one, Will. It's called Offensive Adult Party Game.
I scrolled by it.
It's being put out by the Dragon's Tomb, who actually, they do some really funny board game related YouTube videos. It's just a parody of adult party games. It is not actually a playable game. It's basically just mocking how cookie cutter a lot of those games are, especially the rip-offs.
I scrolled by it because I assumed it was one of those cookie cutters.
Yeah, no, it is not that. It is directly mocking that. It comes with one black card, which says, I like playing offensive adult party games because blank. And then all the white cards say, I lack creativity and enjoy the illusion of being funny.
They all say
and that is it. They all say the same thing. Every player just plays that same card. It's very stupid, but I just think it's kind of brilliant also. So maybe take a look at that.
I mean, how many times have you and I joked that when we try and do these Kickstarter things, or there's just 20, we totally want to do our own, thank you,
apples to apples,
or something,
yeah.
or when, as soon as the U.S. has a presidential campaign, it's that with
right.
whichever the top candidates are.
They're all over the place. Yeah, they're the worst. So anyway, thank you, Will, for taking time and thank you for our audience for bearing with any of our audio issues. We want to hear from you in the comments if you are going to back any of these games, or if there is anything that was on Kickstarter this week that we didn't talk about that you're backing.
Don't worry, all our other videos were filmed in advance, so I will be on set and sounding much better, and I will be back for next week's news and Kickstarters in our normal setting space.
That's right. You won't even realize that he's gone for the rest of the week. This is our peek behind the curtain. Anyway, hey, back some of those games or don't. My name's Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this has been Kickstarter Pickstarter. Hey, if you liked this video, then like this video and subscribe to our channel for more board game content.
Would you kindly do it now?